Yeah, it's the Weege Show. Somehow I ended up in California in between races that are in Atlanta. Gas held a trials event. I hosted it last year because at this time last year there was nothing else going on, so why wouldn't I? But I guess I did a good enough job to get invited back, and they just happened to schedule it between the second and third Atlanta rounds. Unbelievable. While perched on a rock, doesn't dab, starts the motorcycle with the kickstart, and now has to hop across these rocks.
Incredibly impressive as he shoulders into the Stonehenge rock and has got many people in some sick situations. Amateurs showing us why he is ranked #2 in the nation.
And this is above head height, and he's got a launch, and it is sheer vertical with a little bit of overhang. In fact, it might be beyond vertical. And he gets it.
Alex out with a beautiful clean ride, our first lead of the day.
So let's get into our preview, and this backdrop of regular old Southern California traffic is a perfect theme for where we are with 3 rounds to go in Monster Energy Supercross this year. But where I would like to go is like over there where there's mountains and dunes and get out of this traffic, and the vehicle to do it with would be a Honda Talon Sport Side-by-Side machine. Either way you slice it, whether you get a 2-seater model or you get a 4-seater model, whether you get the Fox live valve shocks or even get a standard edition machine, which even in the R model provides 20.1 inches of rear suspension travel. Either way, you're getting 1,000 cc's of power, a dual clutch transmission, and the bottom line is it's super fun, okay? It's super fun. It's way more fun than being stuck in California traffic and then having to get on a plane and do a red eye to get back for a race tomorrow. But my problems are small. You could solve it, and I could solve it by just getting a Honda Talon Sport Side-by-Side. For everyone else that's in the Supercross world, they've got themselves in quite a pickle because we have a really fantastic set of championship battles. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I got to take I-8 because 163 is totally jammed down here in San Diego. We've got 3 championship fights that are going to be good, and they are close. But unlike the typical situation, they're not able to come back out here to California and get their home base to get any sort of normalcy, any sort of extra testing, anything. It was really weird to be at the KTM Gas Husqvarna HQ in Temecula and know that none of the motocross and supercross staff were there because they're all in Atlanta right now, like literally in Atlanta for 9 days during what they like to call residencies. Now you might recall an episode of the Weege Show that I recorded right before all the trucks left at the beginning of the season, and I saw the Rockstar Husqvarna rigs getting packed up, and it was the strange situation where those rigs would not come back to the race shop for the entire Supercross season, where normally they just drive over to Anaheim for 2 days and go right back to the race shop, and they continue to evolve the bikes and packing the rig and all those things. Nope. These vehicles have been on the road the entire time in a season that doesn't have any California races. And now more than ever, when they're looking for that last 1%, when it is closed down with the Honda boy, Ken Roczen, within 13 points of the KTM boy, Cooper Webb, wouldn't they love to be able to do something extra? Wouldn't they love to be able to get back to the test track, discover something? Now, I think a lot of the riders went to California and did some outdoor testing during the break, but for the most part, the rigs and the riders and everyone have stayed away from the familiar confines of the test track. And maybe that doesn't actually matter that much from a practical standpoint. Late in this Supercross season, you don't often see huge gains as far as the motorcycle is concerned. No one really does huge testing and really steps up the game. You kind of have what you have and you are who you are when you're up to rounds 15, 16, 17 of a championship. But things are a little bit different here. It's closer than anyone expected. I know that going into Atlanta, it looked like Cooper Webb was pretty much ready to ice this thing, especially when he extended it to 22 points. But what a difference one race makes. Ken Roczen has dialed it in. All right, hold on, I gotta bail out of here to get out of this traffic. Ken Roczen has dialed it in. And the difference, it was really a bike change. At the first Atlanta, okay, everybody made it look easy to only have one practice session with only a handful of laps. All right, I gotcha. everyone made it look like you could have one practice session on a totally different type of track that no one had ever raced on before, and with weather in between practice and the night show, and make it look easy. Well, almost everybody did. Ken Roxon put in 9th. We got it in the Stop it! I'm trying to talk motocross. Ken Roxon put in the psychological mumbo jumbo to all of us, as it was Webb's in his head, or he's given up, or what is it about Roxon with the pressure? He's got to step up.
Use the right lane to take exit 2B for I-5 South.
Got it. Well, it turns out there was a different type of thing that needed to change. It was the suspension linkage on his bike. They changed the link on Roxon's bike, and suddenly he went from not that great in the whoops at the first Atlanta to incredible in the whoops of the second Atlanta. And these Atlanta tracks so far have had gnarly whoops. You can make a huge gain through there. And he did. Roxon was a completely different rider simply because he was way better in the whoops. One bike change made a massive difference. I know bike changes, they're not sexy, okay? Bike changes are not something we can see with the naked eye. We've all experienced nerves, anxiety, high confidence, low confidence. We've all had someone in our head. We've all entered a day at work feeling great and having a good time, and we've entered ones feeling stressed and knowing we're behind and we don't have all the answers that our bosses are looking for. We've all experienced these mental highs and lows that we think the racers are going through. So we'd rather talk about the psychological stuff. But it turns out a suspension link and a little more practice time and a little more familiarity with a different type of Supercross track made a huge difference for Ken Roxon. And as I alluded to with our wrap-up show after Atlanta 2, now the pressure is on Cooper Webb. Again, Cooper Webb's strengths don't really apply to this type of track. Well, Cooper Webb does so well, especially since he's moved to the KTM.
Use the right lane to take exit 2B for I-5 South.
All right, we're on to the 5 here in San Diego as I go to the airport. Cooper Webb is so good at quick maneuvering, turning on a dime, turning under ruts, as tracks get gnarly, using that ability to get out of the lines that everybody else is in.
Use the right lane to take exit 2B, then keep right.
On a big high-speed track at San Diego, it doesn't really lend itself to the nimbleness that he and his machine have. As we said, he's never quite shown the fortitude outdoors so far on the KTM that he has in Supercross. Hold on here, I'm about to have to move over to the right lane. I'm gonna floor my Hyundai. Got it. And also the whoops. Cooper has gotten a lot better in the whoops. Everybody goes back to his San Diego race last year where the whoops were super gnarly.
18A towards Sassafras Street, San Diego Airport.
All right, that's enough. Everyone's talked about how good or how much better Cooper has gotten in the whoops as of late, but it's really just turned from a tremendous liability into he's just average, and he has not solved it at these first 2 Atlanta races. If Roxon still has the link and he still has the whoops dialed, Webb suddenly is looking at a race where he wants to maybe survive and just score points, but I don't know if he's going to be able to win the race, at least judging by the first 2 Atlantas. This is advantage Roxon, and if Roxon can get it down to under 10 points going into the final 2 races at Salt Lake, man, it's anyone's ball game really at that point, especially when you consider how many spoilers are in the field. Eli Tomac can get between people, Chase Sexton can get it between people, Plessinger, Ferrandis, maybe Marv. There's so many guys that are chomping at the bit to get in there and have a really solid finish. Should be really interesting. So what I'm curious is this. They're away from the home base. They don't get the test. Everybody's holed up in a hotel or an Airbnb in Atlanta. And the decision that someone makes with a motorcycle, probably right now on a Friday, the guess that they're gonna make in practice on Saturday could make all the difference in this championship. Can they get it dialed in the right way, the way Honda could not do at the first race and the way Honda did at the next? And then in the 250 class, well, it's still close because Cameron McAdoo was able to produce the Rising from the Dead experience akin to a Halloween movie, but he still has points to make up on Justin Cooper. It is super pivotal between those guys, and there's a chance maybe for Hunter Lawrence. This 250 class, we know the riders are not immune to big mistakes and handing points over, but as heroic as McAdoo's ride was, he's got to find something special. He's got to hope that either Cooper blows it or McAdoo himself has to put in an even more fantastic ride and has to win to keep those points close. And don't forget, meanwhile, for like 3 months, Colt Nichols and Christian Craig,
use the right lane
thank
to
you,
take exit 18A towards Sassafras Street,
have been sitting there waiting for their chance to battle for a title. I think there's only 6 points between them, and they have one standalone race, and it all ends with a showdown at the finale in Salt Lake. That is a lot of pressure to deal with, and not a lot of time to make the change. So somehow, someone right now is in a hotel room trying to think about this in Atlanta and make the right bike changes that could swing the race and ultimately the title back in Roxon's direction, or maybe Webb can return serve and get a win of his own. Not going to be easy with the amount of riders that are still hungry to get in there. Sexton wants to win badly. Tomac has already proven that he could win on this track. I was always wondering how this season would go, and you've got to give credit to the riders and teams for making the races feel pretty normal when you're watching them on a Saturday night or a Tuesday. But it is a different situation to never be able to get back to the home track, to be holed up for 10 days in a city, and to know that every decision you make is super duper important. So I got to leave California behind and rejoin the folks who would normally be here right now, but are stuck in Atlanta. Thanks for watching the Weege Show, and thanks to Honda for their support with the Talon Sport Side-by-Side. I got a date with a red eye, and when I see you next, I'm going to be really tired.
Sassafras Street.
Shut up.